Welcome to July's reading wrap up. In the month of July, I read 5 books. I do not even want to discuss how far behind I am on my target because I know I have faith in myself and we will get there eventually. For those of you that are new, hello, I'm Charlotte. I have a target to read 100 books this year and I have read 19 books till I'm back on track. That being said, I read either 72 or 75 last year, so I'm pretty confident it will all turn around in the second half of the year. Very mixed bag this month, so I read 4 digital books, ebooks, and 1 physical book. That physical TBR is not really getting any smaller. I was doing really well and I thought I was going to have like a 10 book month, but I got stuck on my physical book. It went really slowly, so that's kind of where we're at. But enough chit chat, let's get into reviewing. Apologies if the lighting changes throughout this vid. I'm filming this early evening, it's like 6:30, 20 to 7 after work, and the sun doesn't face my window, but I have a massive TV in front of the window, so it's like blocking out all of the good natural light. I'm sure it'll be fine, but just in case you notice things chopping and changing. The first book I read in July was Blood Gift by Vila Roth. This is a fantasy romance series with quite a lot of smut thrown in, little vampire fantasy romance series, and this gets a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. This is book number 7. I have obviously read all of the other books. I don't think any of them have actually featured in any of my previous reading wrap-ups because I read them last year, I think. I binge read them. They're all free on Kindle Unlimited. Let me give you a synopsis of the first book just so that you have some context. So Cassia, who's our human in the book, she wants to find out more about her past. She's basically a bastard daughter of a king, very dishonourable in her realm. The only person that is able to help her with this is a Hesperin. That's what the vampires are called. Hesperins, the human call them heretics, and they form a little alliance and it becomes a little sexy alliance. This review is going to contain slight spoilers if you haven't read any of them, but I'm not going to spoil like main themes of plots, but just so you know. So the synopsis of book 7 is that Leo and Cassia are working to get a grip on Cassia's dormant powers ahead of her transformation, because the possibility of unmanaged powers and the transformation could potentially kill her, you know, just girly things. All the meanwhile, a lethal fire mage and necromancer is continuing to just like spoil their fun and, you know, threaten their safety. So overall, I really like this series. I'm really glad I found it. It's just such a good read. The first book, I will say, is a little bit of a slow start, but stick with it. I thought this book definitely had a better momentum and pacing than some of the other books. I think other than the first and second, this is probably my highest rated out of all 7 books. Even though this book is 900 pages, yeah, it does have just a much better flow. I thought I felt like properly into it. It didn't have very many slow or dull points for me. And I felt like we had a lot of wrap up answers to a lot of questions. You know, the authors kind of do the setup and then you're left with a lot of kind of like loose questions, a lot of loose plot points, and this book like wrapped everything up really nicely. It's not the last book, but there was a lot of stuff left unanswered that I finally got my answer to. I really liked returning to this series after book 6, having not read it since last year, because her characters are so well written and so well developed consistently that it makes for a very like cozy, comforting read. Like you're really invested emotionally in the characters in the book, and that's obviously just paired with like really, I think, really well thought out, really detailed like lore and world building. I love Cassia's relationship with Leo's family. I love the emphasis on non-romantic relationships in this book as well. This kind of like found family, sense of duty, all of that kind of vibe. I can't really put it into words. I love a slow burn vampiric romance, and I also want to live in Orthos, please and thank you. If you want to read this, I just really need you to stick with the first book, because once you're out of the first third, it is just delightful. The slow burn is delightful. Book 2 was another Kindle Unlimited find. It was called Ruthless Heart by Roxy Sloane. This is a dark romance, very NSFW, quite short, 300 pages, mafia theme trope, and it gets 2.5 stars from me. So to synopsise you, not that that's a real word, but it doesn't matter, our female MC Lily is currently in witness protection because her dad's a damn rat. after some dodgy dealings that he's done. Essentially, he was in the mob or the mafia, and then her ex Nero, who's now a mafia king, finds her after 10 years. He hates her. They hate each other. This was like a quick, steamy mafia trope read. To be honest, it's been quite hard for me to remember because I just like one and done it really, really quickly. I enjoyed Lily and Nero's chemistry for the most part, and I enjoyed that both of them are quite strong, stubborn characters. Like they're both quite like firm in their convictions and stick by them throughout the book, which I think is a nice change. You don't always get that in a lot of romance. However, one thing that absolutely drives me up the wall, it makes me absolutely furious, is when the whole entire plot is based on the main character's lack of communication skills. It feels a bit lazy when that is the basis of the plot. Like, I know like lack of communication skills can factor in, they can play in, but a lot of the time I was literally reading this being like, okay, but if someone just asked someone something, it would all be resolved, there would be no plot. You know, when you kind of have that realization where that if someone just made a phone call, if you just picked up the phone, you just text someone, you just asked, the whole plot just disappears, which is why it isn't a 3 or a 3.5 for me. I wanted Nero as well to have a little bit more personality, because in the end his POVs, like whole chapters, just felt like they were dedicating to like drooling, lusting after her, sexualizing her beyond belief, and then the next chapter would just be them doing it. Also, I just cannot take a man seriously, fictional or not, when he refers to his dick as the beast, and that's all I'll say on that. The next book I read is probably the one I have the most to say about. It was another Kindle Unlimited read. It was Pucking Around by Emily Raff. This is a NSFW romance. It's kind of like that why choose reverse harem trope thrown in with like the professional athlete trope, if you hadn't guessed from the title. This was a 1-star read. So to synopsize once again, Rachel Price has just gone through a real tumultuous breakup. She's feeling like she needs to start fresh, start anew, and then she's offered a fellowship in Florida with the Jacksonville Rays as not their team doctor, but it's like a junior doctor on their team, I think. So she's not the main team doctor, but she just ups and moves to Florida. She is busy proving herself, feeling her single girl vibes, and she has a love connection with not 1, not 2, but 3 other players. Let me preface this by saying I'm really enjoying romance, like NSFW books at the moment that are sports themed, so like hockey, football, basketball, or just like, you know, professional athletes, or even like the ranch rodeo vibes. Like I'm really enjoying that element of it, kind of like that sporty aspect, I guess. Unfortunately, BookTok led me astray with this one. How many times am I going to say? I swear I say that like once a month. Maybe I should just start not taking recommendations from TikTok. I really did not like this book, which was such a shame. I felt so let down by it because I really like kind of this why choose romance, the like reverse harem trope, for lack of a better term. And I don't think there's like enough books out there like that. Like there's obviously like the big famous ones like Den of Vipers, etc. Credence. But yeah, I was really hoping, I was wanting for more, not more men, just like better writing. So I think it started out as really promising. I think the premise was great. I just wasn't executed to a standard I enjoyed. So this is a 750 page book. I know it's hard to fit a love connection and plot and 3 men in a 750 page book, but I just felt like no chemistry between the characters. I wasn't invested in them. I didn't really enjoy their romance. Like it started off really good, and I'm not saying like I needed more slow burn, because I don't know if you can really slow burn like a threesome, but yeah, I wanted more build up, like more anticipation. It felt like once the first male MC, Jake, was kind of like interested and they'd slept together. Sorry, I know it's a spoiler alert, but let's be real here. It felt like everything else came like hard and fast. I felt like everything was really squeezed in. I'm not using the right terms for this. It didn't give me any kind of like fanny flutters. I wasn't kicking my feet. I wasn't giggling. I wasn't like looking away from the Kindle, like, you know, that look you do when you read something and you go, The only male character I really liked from it was Imari. I want a standalone like romance. I want to know more about Imari. I really liked his kind of like broody Finnish thing he had going on. I would have given up the other two characters for a standalone book about Imari and Rachel's romance. As for Rachel, I felt like she didn't have a lot of depth, which I think in a book where 3 professional athletes can't resist you and you're like this head turner, this like intelligent woman, I think the plot and the character should be worked on a bit more, because at the moment it's kind of like, well, you're not really giving much indication of why that is, like, other than the fact that you're hot. She had good qualities, but they were kind of shoehorned in really only at the end of the book, which just felt a bit like a last jab. I don't know, I feel like I'm really going on this, and I need to get like less guilty about reviewing books badly, but how much smart is too much smart? I never thought I'd say that. But like, how much fucking is too much fucking? Because it felt like there was a lot of fucking and the plot really suffered because of it. I felt like it was a really good concept and a really great idea, and I was hoping that there would be like more discussion around like polyam ethics and relationships and like how they navigated that relationship, considering it's like a public eye relationship because they're all like famous to some degree, but instead they just all turned into like fuck machines. I will not be reading the second one, What the Puck or whatever it's called, although it has been really entertaining to pun around with Puck. On to another Kindle read. My next book was Fallen Stars by Imani Eriyu. Fantasy romance. This is Heavenly Bodies book 2. The first book is Heavenly Bodies. I think I reviewed that last month. It must have been last month. So this is the second one. 3.5 stars from me. I'm going to give you a little bit of a synopsis. Obviously the synopsis does kind of allude to what happened in book 1. So if you don't want spoilers, like, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you don't want spoilers, don't watch this. Alara, she's gone revenge mode. She has gone fallen, disgraced queen. She is furious. Her mission is to bring Enzo back to the waking world. Unfortunately, there's a weird ooky spooky presence that's like following them around and hindering their chances of success. So I really liked this one. In terms of the pacing and the plot, I definitely think it was better written than Heavenly Bodies. I think I mentioned in last month's video that Heavenly Bodies felt like it jumped around quite a lot. So the pacing felt less rushed in comparison to book 1, although I will say I did enjoy book 1 more in terms of like content and plot, but I think the writing, there was definitely an improvement on book 2. Even though the writing had improved, there were definitely some themes and some chapters and some kind of like side quest vibes that felt a bit like filler writing, and I was feeling like I could have skipped through them. I didn't, but you know, when you're kind of reading it like, okay. I really enjoyed the character development in this one. I like seeing a slightly different side to Alara and watching her kind of turn a bit, you know. Introduction of new characters, which I loved. I actually really liked the new characters. Sometimes I get a bit like attached to the old characters. I don't want to see the new ones. But no, I really liked their development. I can't wait to see a bit more about them. Also, we got to meet a few more of the stars. You know, the stars are like gods basically in this. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious. I want to know all about them. So we meet like 1 or 2 more. Regarding plot, I think this one definitely had a bit, do you know what I mean when I say like classic sequel vibes? So like you go here and you do this and then this thing happens, and oh no, we need to go over here and we need to go do that, and then this thing happens and then this thing happens. You know, like when people, this sounds really obvious because this is what books are about, but you know, when people go places and do things, which happens a lot in fantasy, it's like we need to go here and do this and then we need to go here and do this. And there was quite a lot of that. It felt like the plot was kind of sprawling, almost to the point where it's a little bit unmanageable. But I do trust, I mean, that's a classic sequel thing. I do trust that it will like knit all back together in book 3. So I'm interested to see how that comes together. I think because of the sprawling nature of the plot and like all of the going places, doing things and side quests, when the plot twist kind of came around, I wasn't like that invested in it. I kind of didn't really realise. I was like, oh right, okay. it was like hard for me to have a handle on. You know, I'm a sucker for world building, and I did really like the world building because we see a few more realms that belong to the stars, which was nice. Yeah, I will be reading book 3 when it comes out, so that's not for ages, I don't think. I don't think it's even got a date yet. So my final book was a physical book. It was Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. Look how beautiful the cover is. This book is a young adult fantasy. It only got 2.5 stars from me. I'll explain why after a little synopsis. So this is a fantasy that is really, really heavily influenced by West African mythology and a little bit of Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid, like the OG The Little Mermaid. So Simi, our main character, she prayed to the gods and now serves them as Mummy Water, which is a mermaid that collects souls of the dying, of people who have died at sea. However, she breaks the code because a young boy is thrown overboard and he's not dead yet, he's living, and she saves him. Basically, she has to find the supreme creator to make amends for what she's done because she's put everyone in danger by doing this. I'd imagine this book is set around roughly the 15th century because it's around the time that European slave traffickers first start to appear in Africa. That's a big portion of the start of the book. So I'm sad because I was really looking forward to reading this. I really like the cover. I saw one booktoker that I really like recommend it and thought I'd give it a go. But it just didn't hit the spot. The beginning, like the first probably like 60 pages had me really hooked. It was quite captivating, quite dramatic. I just really struggled to stick with it. The blurb refers to a journey of vengeful gods and treacherous lands, and I just felt like it never really dipped into that enough. I absolutely loved the storytelling. I'm always hooked on books that are about mythology. I quite liked the switching between the two timelines that was in the book, and the lore and the world building was unreal. I just found it I don't think it's like the book, it might just be a bit of me, but I did see there were a lot of really mixed reviews quite similarly, that it just wasn't gripping. It took me a really long time to read because I was just, after the second half, I was just like waiting for it to finish because I was just quite bored reading it. There's like a light romance angle in it that it just felt a bit weak. I felt like it could have done without it. Yeah, I don't know. I've only just realised when I finished it that it's part of a series, but I don't think I'll be picking up the second one. I did really enjoy picking up a lot of the parallels from The Little Mermaid, but like the original one, because that's like one of my favourite stories ever. In the original Hans Christian Andersen The Little Mermaid, because you know Hans Christian Andersen's like fairy tales are like fucked up. In the original Little Mermaid, she dies, and when mermaids die they dissolve into foam on the sea, so there was a couple of parallels about like other mermaids dissolving into foam on the sea. There was another one, what was it? Oh, when she has her legs and she walks on land, it feels like knives going into her feet. That's how it's said in Hans Christian Andersen. And Simi can't walk long distances before she starts limping and getting loads of pain in her feet. So I quite enjoyed like picking up on loads of those little parallels. But yeah, I think I just maybe had high hopes. I think maybe it just missed the mark for me. That was all my books for July. Sorry this didn't come out on the first weekend of August. I just struggled to get around to filming it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read any of those. Let me know if you want to read any of those, or if we had differing thoughts. I'd be very interested to hear. I'm trying to post more of what I read on my Instagram, and post like on my Kindle as well, because I read a lot of books on Kindle and I tend to only post the physical books that I read on my Instagram, so I'll link it in there. And you lot always recommend me books through Instagram, so amazing. I will also link my story graph down below. You can follow me on there or add me as a friend, because you can see what I'm reading like real time. Look at my recommended, look at my TBR, look at my reviews for the whole year. I'm going to be trying to be better at like typing out reviews for Storygraph and not just doing the star reviews and trigger warnings. Also, all trigger warnings for all of those books can be found on Storygraph, so please take a look, because I've read a lot of smut this month, and some of it's like hardcore smut, so yeah, you might want to take a look at that. Thank you for another month of reading. I will see you in August's wrap up, and I love you all very much. Thanks, bye.